On this week's show, changes at eBay have sellers furious. Changes at Poshmark have sellers furious. And changes at Etsy have sellers, well, I think you get the picture. What is up, Galaxians? Welcome to another edition of the Galaxy CDs, Rocks, and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. My name is Ryan, and I will be your host today. I will start by apologizing for not having a live show on Wednesday. I was down this week with COVID. Tuesday through Thursday, pretty rough around here. I'm not 100%, but I'm mostly back to feeling human. And there was a bunch going on last week, so I thought it was worthwhile putting together a little show to go over all the things that have sellers up in arms. So let's get into this reselling news.
News updates.
We're going to start with something you can do, actually, about this. So my friend Liz, Colorado Reworn, who is part of the Colorado Springs eBay seller community, has arranged a virtual meetup with an eBay representative, eBay's Kai Mu, if I'm saying that correctly, who is with the eBay ads team. On Tuesday, it is, if you're on the East Coast, it's a little bit late. It's 9 p.m. Eastern, but it's a virtual meetup that is available. And Kai, is going to take our questions about all the changes coming to the promoted listings program over at eBay. Give us an opportunity to not only ask those questions, but give our feedback on those upcoming changes. So if you have some things you would like to say, I will leave a link to this in the video description and the show notes down below. If you're able to attend, I think this is a great opportunity to maybe see a little bit where eBay is coming from on this and give them the feedback that they need to decide whether or not they actually want to go through with it. I'm skeptical that any change potentially would come from this, but it's certainly an opportunity to give it a shot and see what we can get sorted out. So this is, again, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, and whatever that works out to in your various time zones. Again, a link will be down in the show notes and the video description down below. Just a quick reminder, also Tuesday is Veterans Day. No post office on Tuesday, so be aware of that. Don't go to the post office. But this is kudos to Liz for getting this put together. I know she, along with a lot of sellers, are, as I said in the intro, furious about these upcoming changes, even though, as we discussed when I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, I think we all knew this shoe was going to drop at some point. The eBay US market is far and away their biggest batch of sellers, so this change stands to give them the biggest bang for their buck, no pun intended. So I don't know what we can accomplish through this, but having an opportunity to sit down with a senior product marketing manager in charge of advertising over at eBay is a really good opportunity, and kudos to eBay and to Kai for putting themselves out in front of the seller. So hopefully you can join us there. I plan to be there. I don't know what the actual setup of this is, if it's going to be a video conference or what it will be, but the link will be there. Come join us. More changes at eBay. They're testing, this article's over on Value Added Resource, curated finds in stores. There's a big push on a lot of these sites to curate potential buyers' experiences. This one supposedly will help buyers discover more items that fit their interests. eBay is testing an automated curated finds to stores to help buyers discover more items that fit their specific interests and shopping trends, but will sellers push back on the intrusion into store pages that they may pay monthly subscription fees for? If you're a store subscriber, you're paying whatever. Mine's like $59.95 a month. They vary, I think, from about $10 up to, I don't even know, $300 a month. But that's our space. And they have already made changes with like the banner, the rotating banner and stuff, kind of intruding on space that we are paying for to set up the way we want. They already only give you really limited controls over it. So this is yet another tweak that eBay is making to sites that, or to pages rather, that ostensibly belong to the sellers. You can let me know in the comments what you think of that. The feature was spotted this week by an eBay community member, Wasting Time 101. Spotted a new feature added to stores. I haven't tested yet to see if this happens with non-stores. View at least 2 items from a seller, then visit their store page, and at the top, below the banner and navigation above the seller's customized storefront, like featured categories, etc., eBay is adding now their own row of listings. The system pulls out items related to what you viewed and sticks them in that row so buyers see more items in line with what they are viewing. Again, here, I have no problem with that. In theory, it seems like a normal, rational marketing thing. I've looked at item A and related item B, and now I go to that store to ostensibly probably to find more stuff like that. Here, eBay is going to present more stuff like that in a row that is prominently featured. Again, as is with the case in a lot of things, eBay, this appears to be automated with no input from the seller, whether they want to do it or not. I don't know why we wouldn't want to do it. Again, it feels like it's a good idea to me, but not having the opportunity to opt in or even opt out, apparently, that's where sellers get their shorts in a bunch, as it were. The feature appears to be either a test or a phased rollout, as some users are currently seeing it while others are not. I have not. I did an update to my store the other day and did not see that. But this is what it looks like for those who are currently seeing it. eBay has inserted a row of items at the top that are automatically populated with items that they think a specific buyer might be interested in. So you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, it literally says curated finds for you, and then highlights items that their algorithm or AI has determined might be a good fit for that potential buyer, and then the rest of the page appears as normal. While this new curated finds for you section currently appears to contain only organic placements of items from this actual seller, no sponsored labels, some sellers in the community expressing concern that eBay may decide to use this spot to insert other sellers' items and or promoted listings ads at some point in the future. Again, especially considering the attribution changes that we just discussed. On the one hand, I can see this being a good thing, said one seller. On the other, I can see this being the first step in eBay putting rows of other sellers' merchandise in our storefronts, which, let's face it, are pretty much last place left without ads. That would be absolutely a bridge too far for me. Not that I would leave eBay, but man, that one would really have me furious. I and most of you who are store owners, we're paying extra to have a dedicated storefront of just our merchandise. Our own listings, when they're just pulled either through promoted or organic, are already full of other people's items. We talked about it last week. At virtually every level across the page of your item view are sponsored, promoted listings or related listings from other sellers. That's bad enough, as I said last week. But if you start doing that on a storefront that I'm paying $60 a month for, putting other sellers' stuff in my store would really be a problem. I'm not sure eBay would even stoop to that, but I don't know. I'd hoped the seller continued that eBay would treat our storefronts as sort of sacred in that regard. But as I say, would not be surprised to discover this is a first step, and nor would I be surprised if eBay added ads to our stores in Q4, probably overreacting, they admitted. But with the recent change to added attribution, nothing would surprise me very much. To be clear, eBay has not provided any information to sellers about this test and has not stated whether they will or will not consider using that section for ads and or other sellers' items at any point in the future. But it's understandable, given eBay's history, Liz continues, that sellers would think this is a possibility. Wouldn't be the first time that eBay took control over a seller's store pages to test new functionality. Back in 2022, they tested automatically adding featured categories to stores without seller permission, only eventually giving sellers the option whether to use the feature or not. Historically, sellers have been extremely resistant to eBay exerting control over store pages, especially to change the design or add items, since they're paying anywhere from, here you go, $4.95 to almost $3,000 a month in subscription fees. Sellers often believe store pages should be a space that belongs completely to them with no promoted listings or ads. So there you go. That's coming either as a test or as a phased rollout. over on eBay. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, for me, the thing in principle seems like a great idea, seems like a feature I would want to use, but I would like to have the opportunity as a seller, particularly on paid real estate within my own store, to say, yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. Moving over to Poshmark, man, this one has caused quite the kerfluffle. Lots of messages and notes and comments over on Instagram and other sites about this. This has probably been coming for a while for Poshmark sellers, and various opinions on why it is. Poshmark has killed off bulk sharing. Will other community features be next? Sellers were thrown into turmoil this week with the sudden removal of the bulk sharing option, as new leadership, which we talked about in last week's episode, looks to focus more on sales and less on the company's founding community ethos. I guess that Poshmark CEO change actually was a couple of weeks ago we talked about. Sellers who noticed bulk sharing is no longer possible in the app contacted support for information, since there was no post on the Poshmark blog or other public announcement about the feature being discontinued, and the response they got made it clear Poshmark does not intend to bring the feature back. Again, an issue I have discussed on this show. Been doing this for almost 6 years now, reasonably consistently, and one of the things I've talked about also reasonably consistently is the lack of transparency and the lack of communication from all of these sites. They just do these things and tell us about it later, or don't tell us about it at all. We just find them on our own, much like the thing we just discussed with eBay and the storefront. No announcement, no heads up, no discussing about it in the winter seller check-in. Just started appearing in the wild, and people were like, oh, what is this? I know there's this ethos of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Again, as I say with some regularity, these are their sandboxes. If we want to play in them, we're kind of stuck with whatever they decide they want to do. But they make such a big deal publicly in events and whatnot about what a partnership it is between sellers and the company, how we're the lifeblood of their business and blah, 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 blah. But then they do stuff like this and they don't tell us. Very strange. Poshmark's response: thanks for reaching out. We recently removed the bulk sharing tool as part of our effort to simplify selling and focus on what truly helps you make sales. You can still individually share listings when you want to highlight specific items, but there's no need to bulk share regularly. Instead, we encourage you to focus on the actions that make the biggest impact. 1, respond promptly to buyer offers. 2, send offers to likers to convert interest into sales. 3, do regular price drops to stay competitive. 4, ship orders on time. And 5, avoid cancellations to maintain a strong seller record. These core actions improve visibility and conversion across the marketplace. We're confident this change will help your listings reach more motivated shoppers and make selling ever more efficient. I don't necessarily disagree with that. And I think this article mentions a little further down that the bulk social sharing of all of your items no longer registers as highly, or if at all, in pushing your items higher in search results. And if that's the case, if it's not a requirement any longer to share every item multiple times a day, then getting rid of this probably is not a big deal. But they haven't been super clear in communicating that to sellers, as near as I can tell from the feedback that was received in this article. Sellers took to social media to express their frustration and dismay at the change. One Reddit post so far has over 100 replies, with some suggesting to leave negative reviews on the Poshmark app with an explanation of why they're upset about the change. It says, everyone please consider leaving a 1-star review on the Poshmark app in the Google and Apple stores to make it clear how these recent changes are hurting both sellers and buyers. It also feels like the platform direction is being driven by priorities that don't support the longtime seller community. The heavy push towards specific product categories and the shift away from the features that built this marketplace are disappointing and out of touch. Some say they believe Poshmark is intentionally taking away the sharing tool to try to get desperate sellers to spend more money on promoted closets. Very well could be. Again, big push over on eBay with promoted listings to get sellers rather than, as we talked about previously, doing all the right things, creating a good listing, lots of photos, lots of whatever. In the case of Poshmark, sharing it, sharing your closet, doing all those things. Now they have these promoted closets. They can get you to pay and then they will boost your listing rather than having you do some of this manual labor. Let me know what you think. If you're a Poshmark seller, I'd be curious. I don't sell over there. Let me know how you feel about this and the changes overall. Others, the article continues, think the idea is to get users to spend more time and engage in more activity on the app to help the Korean parent company, Naver, which we talked about, acquired the company back in 2023, keep investors happy. They love you sharing manually, one writer said. It takes longer and it keeps you on the app. Shows active participation to their investors. When you take away the very benefit of being a Posh ambassador to kindergarten status, you're insulting business professionals. I find their tactics insultive and downright breach of contract for what I initially signed up for. I'm just going to say I disagree with that. I'm absolutely certain in their terms of service, they say they have the right to change their platform and the rules of engagement at any time they see fit. So good luck with the lawsuit on that one. I don't think that's got any standing. It's absurd, and I sort of want a refund for all the money they've taken for my hard work, not theirs. I find them lazy and Temu bound. The article continues. They may have a point. Poshmark co-founder and CEO Manish Chandra recently stepped down, as we discussed, passing leadership to executive chairman and Naver president of investments Namsun Kim in a move that has only stoked seller concern that the company's moving away from its founding community ethos. We talked about a couple of weeks ago, there's only one founder that is still a part of the company at the C-suite level. So changes are coming. We talked about it at the time that Naver acquired Poshmark, that at some point in the future, they were going to start doing things to recoup their investment. These companies don't buy other companies like Poshmark out of the goodness of their heart. They want to make money. And again, pushing people into paying to promote closets or to do things to spend more time on the site to attract additional investment. Those are things that publicly traded companies are going to do. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. It's just business. I try not to get too personal about this. They don't owe me anything, I guess. At the end of the day, it's their business. As I said, they can do what they want. But the dichotomy of the talk about partnerships and how important sellers are to these companies, and then the actions on the other side of it, of things like this, just the math ain't math, and it just doesn't make any sense that they do these things and that they don't really communicate them. Or again, I'm not active on Poshmark. I don't know if there were community discussions about this sort of change coming or not, but my guess is no. The move comes less than a month after Poshmark announced major changes coming to feed visibility and discovery on the platform, which also, here we go, de-emphasizes sharing and other community-focused features in favor of trust-building factors, being active and responsive on the site, and on-time shipping. Personally, if I was a Poshmark seller, I'd be really happy about that. One of the biggest complaints I've heard from a lot of sellers is that this social sharing takes a lot of time and effort. A lot of people have hired VAs or software to do all of that kind of bulk auto sharing because they don't want to spend the time doing that. They want to spend the time doing the things that will help them actually be productive and grow their business, create new listings, answer customer issues, generate sales, send offers, respond to offers. And again, at least from this verbiage, it appears that Poshmark is making moves in that direction to de-emphasize the time-consuming but not necessarily super productive social aspect of things while re-emphasizing the actual business metrics. Do you respond to messages on time? Do you ship on time? Do you have good feedback? Yada, yada, yada. I don't really have any issues with that. That seems like a good path to go down. The issue, again, is lack of transparency, lack of communication, that lack of partnership in making these changes. Just throwing them out there. You've got sellers that have been selling on Poshmark since day one. This is obviously a major change. You can understand why sellers would be put off by it. The only thing constant in the world is change. I get it. If you truly valued your sellers as partners, you would take them as partners in this thing. You're not going to please everybody. You have to do the things that you think are right for your business, be it you individually or Poshmark or eBay or any of these sites. But at least on the face of it, this looks to me like moves in the right direction. It's just the implementation of it is a little ham-fisted, if you will. As part of the changes, Poshmark has said sharing and following will still be an important part of the user experience, but in different ways. Sharing counts as activity and refreshes your listings in the just shared sort in search. Sharing others' listings is still a way to support the community, but it no longer impacts listing visibility in the feed. So if you want to boost your activity stats, it makes sense to go ahead and share someone else's stuff, but it doesn't help that listing appear in search. That's an interesting one. Following helps you stay connected with the community, but again, does not impact how shoppers discover your listings. Remains to be seen if Poshmark will respond to seller outrage over the loss of bulk sharing. My gut feeling is, based on everything they have said, that's not the direction they're going in. It is, at least from the looks of this, it's not relevant to the metrics that they want to measure going forward. So I would be very surprised, personally, if they bring this back. Let me know in the comments what you think. The article continues, in the past, leadership was often sensitive to feedback, like the quick reversal of the fee change from last year. But as Naver has taken more control, that is not the case. Moving on to Etsy. Sellers not pleased. Are you sensing a trend here today? Incoming Etsy CEO says AI will help sellers. Many say it's making things worse. Ask Me Anything event, which happened last week with Chief Growth Officer and soon to be the new CEO, Kruti Patel Goyal, reveals a stark divide between Etsy and sellers on AI and the importance of keeping commerce human. The event kicked off with a question that had been sent in by a seller who clearly had some of Etsy's recent AI changes on her mind, asking, quote, how do you envision balancing the platform's growing scale and use of automation with maintaining the sense of individuality, craftsmanship, and personal connection that originally made Etsy special for both sellers and buyers? That is about as perfectly a phrased question as you could create to discuss the changes at Etsy. So whoever that seller was, kudos to you. Well done. The answer, predictably, said she believes AI is a tool that can actually help make Etsy feel even more human. Okay. Excuse me. Still fighting a little COVID. I would say that I think it's more important now than ever as experiences around us become more and more automated and more impersonal. I think Etsy is a place that really stands out because it can and should feel that much more human and that much more personal than anywhere else online that you can shop. In terms of how we leverage and utilize technology, it's evolving. And as AI in particular is evolving, some would say not necessarily in the right direction, I think we have the opportunity to leverage technology to make Etsy feel even more human, to amplify all the things that make Etsy special. So when I think about that, for all of you, for our sellers, we are really excited about how we can leverage AI to take a lot of the work and the things that take a lot of time out of your days to give you more time to do what only you can do, the creation, the creating, and the connecting with buyers. On the buyer side, we're really investing a lot in leveraging AI to highlight what makes the items on Etsy really special and human, but also to do a much better job matching and connecting people with things that meet their interests. Sellers in the live chat had very different opinions about AI's place in the Etsy experience, some expressing concerns about AI-altered pictures and digital products flooding the marketplace, as well as problems with having AI automating policy enforcement. That's something that goes back, gosh, now well over a year, probably 2 years, where the Etsy bots have been overzealous in flagging individual listings or stores as being fraudulent, counterfeit, fake, whatever the case may be. When asked about marketplace integrity and whether Etsy will require AI usage in art creation to be disclosed and or allow buyers to filter out AI generated products, Goyle carefully threaded the needle with the answer, likening AI to other technologies like using a loom instead of hand weaving or knitting. We all believe, really deeply, that Etsy is a platform that stands for and welcomes all kinds of creativity. I'll just inject here. We've talked about this before. AI generated stuff, art, t shirts, coffee mugs, whatever it is, has become such a huge piece of Etsy's business that there's little to no chance that they're going to disallow it at any point on the site. This kind of confirms that, in my opinion. Over the years, we've had a lot of debate about how new technology or production methods or ways to create new inventory have evolved and whether or not those types of items should be included. Again, print on demand being a big one, even prior to AI being layered on top of that. So you had this evolution on Etsy from vintage and handmade to then allowing, designed by the seller and using production partners like Printify and those sorts of things. And now you're allowing those creators to rely on AI as yet another step in that direction. And all of this has served essentially to add additional product to Etsy's catalog, which has in turn helped their sales. And remember, their sales have been down, 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 down. You could make the argument that maybe it's because of those things. Etsy no longer feels like a special vintage and handmade marketplace. I see all the same stuff on there in terms of like, t-shirts, coffee mugs, whatever, fake art that I see on eBay or Amazon or TikTok shops or whatever it is. So that piece that always differentiated them now is not there. So you could make the argument that Etsy has gone down that path to add inventory and increase sales because of all these extra options, but it has actually had the inverse effect and has made things worse. Pardon me. Over the years, we've continued to say, look, whatever the production methods are, we want to be an inclusive platform that enables creators of all types to reach an audience and thrive. I think the challenge here is how we make it really clear what went into creating an item, so it's very clear to anyone who's buying it what it is and how it was made. When the second part of that is really doing a much better job showing people what it is they care about and value. I'm not going to read her whole statement here. It is quite lengthy. These will all be linked in the show notes and the video description down below. But again, her point is we want all this stuff on there, but we want to make it a much clearer. We'll see how that goes, what the creation process was. And they have attempted at least to start that process by their new kind of divisions of product categories, curated by, handmade by, and so on. And I assume at some point they want to add in some additional labels about how an item was created. I don't know what the end point to that is. You can let me know in the comments below. Sellers expressed frustration with the answer, saying it sounded like she was already in full CEO mode, speaking to investors, not addressing the actual concerns of the marketplace. Taking on the theme, one seller in the chat pointed out, many AI-generated crochet patterns listed on the site are scams because they often don't actually make something that would look anything remotely like the item in the listing. Another simply said, AI is not the same as a knitting loom, and received many thumbs up and applause. Yet another creator pointed out that allowing AI products to saturate the market crowds out new creators, saying, quote, Etsy is a highly saturated market just from sellers with physical, hand-designed products, making it difficult for new shops to gain traction. Allowing AI products will just continue crowding out new creators. Again, you can let me know what you think of that. That was kind of the point I was just making. You've got all this extra stuff, which in theory makes the site look more full. There's a lot more stuff. Then you compound that problem with the idea that Etsy's search results are not always great. So you're seeing a lot of junk. You look for something, puppy dog coffee mug, and rather than seeing something that was hand painted, hand created, your feed is flooded with AI generated puppy dog coffee mugs, and then a bunch of stuff that is unrelated to that altogether. It ends up being a mess, and buyers don't buy because they're just confused. To not acknowledge AI as a problem, another one went on their platform, is concerning. I don't think it has a place on Etsy. If they want AI generated products, launch Etsy AI. Another one said, if people want handmade, they can search handmade. Why isn't handmade the default? The only people searching AI on purpose will be scammers looking for easy art to steal. Another one says, I'd like an option to never see AI, period, whether it be a listing or a suggestion. Again, a lot of pushback just against AI generally, which I get. It continues to be problematic, return poor results, generate poor quality items. The potential for AI is obviously quite high, but in its current implementation, it really causes more problems than it's worth. And again, having the ability as a potential buyer to say, I don't want to see AI generated product would be good, up to the point where then you're relying on sellers to accurately report that their item was generated or created by AI, which I don't think is probably going to happen, at least not as often as it should. The Ask Me Anything session ended with hints about new features and tools coming soon, which some sellers say make them concerned that Etsy is planning to roll out new ways to make more money off them through additional services and fees to boost revenue amidst lagging sales and buyer growth, like the recently launched test of the new instant transfer option, offering access to funds for a fee. I don't think I have that article here today. If you are a seller on Etsy, they have finally jumped on the instant payment bandwagon. You can request, I believe it's up to one time per day, up to a total of $500, an instant request, which I believe you should have within like 3 to 4 hours. The cost ranges anywhere from a minimum of 25 cents to a maximum of $1 in order to do that. I never have enough money in Etsy that I want to take it out any faster than my once a week withdrawals anyway. So it's not something I would use. It is a nice option to have. That fee, to be fair, seems, if not in line, maybe even a little lower than others. Some sites don't have a cap. You can take as much money as you want out. Etsy is limiting you to $500 max. So there are some restrictions on it, but that is a new program over there. And theoretically, a new opportunity for Etsy to generate a little bit of money in fees, though, of course, it's outweighed by the fact that that money won't be sitting in their account earning interest. It'll be in yours. So there you go. Yeah, I do have it. I just gave away this whole story. Etsy is testing instant transfers, giving select U.S. sellers faster payout option for a fee. It is only in the U.S., and it is not for all sellers. Since I just gave away the lead on that, I won't read this whole story. But if you want to make an instant transfer, go to your shop manager. If you're using the seller app, select the More tab from the navigation bar. Go to Finance, choose Payment Method. If instant transfer is available, under Available for Deposit, select Start a Transfer. Choose Instant Transfer. Funds sent through will typically be available within 30 minutes and have a fee of 1% of the transfer amount with a minimum of 25 cents and a maximum of $1. So there you go. Pretty much everything I just said. And now for the last article of the week. TikTok Shop and StockX are both entering the auction arena in a bid to take collectibles market share from eBay. So eBay is still the 800-pound gorilla or whatever, but these new smaller sites just continue to nibble and take bites out of it. They both introduced auction offerings in a bid to take that market share in the key collectibles categories. TikTok Shop announced countdown bidding earlier this year, aiming to replicate auction functionality from other popular live stream shopping platforms like Whatnot and eBay Live. Just 5 months in, they're now moving quickly to respond to user feedback with New improvements, including rolling out for auctions, including temporary listings for easier order management and fulfillment, as well as updates to extended bidding timers. Global e-commerce cross-border trade operations lead, that's a big title, Steve Halupka, thanked the teams responsible for getting these new features into the hands of buyers in a recent LinkedIn post. The next phase, he said, of TikTok Shop auctions are here. We've listened to what sellers have been asking for and introduced features to make auctioning off products more seamless with temporary listings and updated our extended bidding timers. Appreciate all the teams collaborating to make it easier for our buyers and sellers to transact and build the world's best discovery platform. We're just getting started. He said, feel free to reach out to learn more. Interesting tidbit, Halupka led many of eBay's collectible and trading card initiatives from 2014 to 2022 when he left to join TikTok parent company ByteDance. Since then, eBay has struggled to maintain consistent leadership for those categories, with a revolving door of managers moving on to other internal positions or leaving for competing marketplaces like Alt and Walmart. Well, it's still early days for this. GM Collectibles Owen Ling says he believes TikTok's superpower is discovery and their massive monthly user base, and that as those users learn and become more comfortable with the auction format, TikTok could have a significant opportunity to tap into high-end collectibles. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I've dabbled on TikTok, not a fan, really. I feel like that's a demographic thing. I'm an old white guy. I don't think the boomers are on TikTok, and I don't know like how many younger people with big amounts of disposable income to get collectibles are on there. Now I get it in categories like trading cards and maybe sneakers where this might be a thing, but there's a lot of money that is held by people that are not going to be TikTok users. So I think it's a great opportunity for them, but it may not be as great, in my opinion, as they might think it is. They do have a huge and very active user base. He said their superpower is discovery. Every month, over 20 million users watch collectibles content on TikTok. Many of them, they noted, had never joined an auction before, but when we educate them through pre-live short videos, explain how it works, and start from $1, we see new buyers coming in and converting fast. For high-ticket items, yes, it's possible too. Every breaker has a core community, and within that community are loyal collectors willing to go big. When you plan ahead, invite them to your auction streams, and drive strong engagement early, the algorithm does the rest, amplifying your reach and accelerating sales. TikTok does not disclose aggregate sales figures, but the price and sales volume of individual products are visible on the app. Based on that data, analytic firm EchoTick estimates TikTok Shop sold $19 billion worth of products globally from July through September of this year, with the U.S. accounting for about $4 to $4.5 billion of that total, an increase of 125% compared to Q2. That's a big, big number. And by comparison, eBay reported $20.1 billion total global GMV for the same period, just barely managing to stay ahead of the social media giant despite devoting significant resources and discounts for users to try to boost the usage of eBay Live. So TikTok has obviously tapped into something here. I would expect, barring a ban, which seems like it's off the table at this point, that they're going to continue to grow. You're seeing the same thing over on Whatnot, which recently just got another big cash infusion to continue their rapid growth. So this live selling piece is going to, in my opinion, continue to take a chunk out of eBay's business. Let me know what you think. Another one, StockX. Another revival for a key focus category. Market share has also entered the auction space as StockX launches a premium bidding experience for the world's most sought-after sneakers, pop culture memorabilia, and collectibles. Our community has consistently shown a passion for unique, hard-to-find items, so StockX Auctions is a natural evolution for us, said Greg Schwartz, their CEO. This new experience creates a trusted, transparent, and genuinely exciting space where collectors can access items they've only dreamed of. By combining our verification expertise with real-time bidding, we're expanding what it means to invest in the culture. So again, another company with a very hyper focused set of products getting into this live space and auction business. Really interesting stuff. Interesting times in the world of reselling. So let me know what you think of any of this. It is, there's a lot going on. I received a question, and we're gonna cover this live this Wednesday. So I will be live Wednesday. I had another seller that reached out and asked a question about how Q4 is going, how sales look, what the outlook might be for the rest of Q4, given all of this kind of stuff going on top of all of the stuff going on with the broader economy. So Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, come join me for a live, and let's talk about all of this and all of kind of sales and the economic pressures that are being brought to bear on both buyers and sellers. It's a tough time, to be fair. A lot of things going against sellers, which is not new, to be fair. Again, as I said earlier in the show, despite all of these platforms' constant discussion about how important sellers are to them, we're the ones getting squeezed for more money. We're the ones getting imposed more restrictions on what and how we do things. We've got pressures coming to bear from every angle, whether it be insurance or the cost of goods sold or the rising prices at thrift stores and so on and so forth. So let's discuss that on Wednesday. Again, I will leave a link to all of these articles and the eBay meetup for Tuesday evening in the show notes and the video description down below. If you can come to that, if you're an eBay seller, please consider doing that. We'd love to see you there. And again, shout out to Liz for getting that put together. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of time here. Hope to see you on Wednesday. And until then, my friends, it's time to sell. Thanks, guys. You have been listening to the Galaxy CDs Rocks and Flips Reseller Talk podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you again next time.